Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to chat with you guys a little bit about something that is really understood in exercise science at this point. We've got, a lot of support for this, and when I say this, I'm not telling people that single joint exercises don't have their place. Even as a strength coach, I prescribe single joint exercises for my power lifters. So I want to make that very, very clear up front. They do have their place in training. However, that place is usually a bit more nuanced and finesse, and they're very rarely going to be our primary muscle builders. They're just not, ideal for that because of the exercise economy. But people have this idea that you can isolate muscles, and it's a complete bodybuilder idea. It's not based on reality. In fact, if we look at the evidence and just the way the body works, it's actually impossible. And it's even funnier because they'll try to say, well, if you do this big multi-joint exercise this way, it will isolate the pectorals more or whatever. And it doesn't isolate. What they mean is it may work them a little bit harder. And you know what? That can be a good thing. I'm not going to argue that is a bad practice. Let's say you're doing a big multi-joint exercise, like a bench press, with a barbell or with a dumbbell. It's fine. I don't even care what angle. Notice I didn't even say it had to be flat. All right. And you decide that you want to do it in a way that works the chest just a little bit harder. You know what? If you want a bigger chest, that's probably not a bad idea. Okay? It's probably not a bad idea. Why? Because, working a muscle harder usually helps it grow better. I don't think this is a difficult concept, and I think everyone agrees. I think people who read the studies and researchers agree with that point, and the bros who use purely anecdote. We all agree on that point. Okay? Everybody agrees there. The real world evidence and the laboratory evidence all show this. Yeah, we know. You work a muscle harder, if it can recover, it's probably going to grow. All right. That isn't rocket surgery. The issue becomes when they think that by cutting other muscles out that you somehow cause more growth stimulus, and that's just not the case. And number one, you can't isolate a muscle either. So I'll jump into that also. When you do a single joint exercise, you can't work just the muscle you want to work. You cannot do it. You can't do it. It's impossible. Because isolate makes it sound like you're only working that muscle and that's the only muscle that's going to grow. Okay, so guys will be like, I'm trying to isolate the side delt with this really, really strict lateral raise. And I don't have a problem with you doing a strict lateral raise. You know what? If you want to do a really strict lateral raise, great. Probably be pretty good for your delts. Especially if you take it real close to failure or go to failure. Yeah, delts will probably grow from that. Not a bad idea. Now keep in mind, of course, many of the guys who will say that, they're talking about trying to isolate a muscle. They swing in cheap more than powerlifters do. It's quite comical. But I digress. Over to the point. You do a really strict lateral raise. You think you're going to work the lateral head of the deltoid. You do, but you know what? The interior head probably works just as hard. If you go off EMG data, I'm not saying it's the be-all end-all either. I'm not saying that. Usually the interior deltoid lights up even more than the side deltoid does on it. Unless you really lean forward a lot and turn it into a rear delt fly. But that's no longer a side raise, is it? Okay, side raise works all three heads of the delt. All of them. Pretty decently too. So let's kind of come back over to that point as a strict side raise. Yeah, that's a pretty good delt exercise. Notice I didn't say with a cable or a dumbbell. I just said as a general statement. Same movement pattern. Yeah, pretty good delt exercise. But it works all three heads. You know what else? It works really effectively, the upper trap. Again, if we go off the data we have, it's a very effective upper trap exercise. We're talking high levels of recruitment. Well, so much for your isolation, it didn't work. You're working the traps too. And you cannot remove the traps. There is literally nothing you can do. It is impossible to do a side raise or a rear delt raise, like a rear delt fly. It is impossible to do them without the traps being one of the primary movers. It is physically impossible for you to take that out. You cannot do it. And that's with a single joint exercise. You get over to multi-joint movements. See where we're going? Oh, you're working several muscles. Okay, same thing. A super strict concentration curl doesn't work just the biceps. Incidentally, it doesn't even work the biceps as well, according to the research. It doesn't even work the biceps as well as some other exercises. There are other types of curls that just destroy a strict concentration curl for building the biceps. Right? So much for that. But you can't isolate the bicep. You can't do it. You can't do it, people. It is impossible. Only time this has been achieved is when people are strapped down and electrodes are hooked to the muscle, which incidentally doesn't cause very much muscle growth. That contraction doesn't usually produce a training response. It's going to cause muscle growth the way that lifting weights or cables or anything else will. It doesn't. It just doesn't. That's the only way to do it. And it doesn't work. So back over to the point. You can't isolate muscles. And here's the other thing. When you look at the studies, multi-joint exercises cause just as much growth in the target muscle. In other words, you take a dumbbell and you do a flat press for a full range of motion, and you do a dumbbell fly and take it through the same range of motion at the joint angle at the shoulder. Which one causes more muscle growth in the pectorals? Neither. The studies say they cause the same growth. And it makes sense because the pec is doing the same amount of work. People are like, but there's other muscles involved. Yes, but it doesn't remove the work the pec is doing. You see where we're going here? You don't have to try to keep continual tension on a muscle. You don't have to try to isolate it for it to grow. What do? Make it work through an effective range of motion and fatigue it. You fatigue a muscle with resistance. Okay, notice I didn't say barbell, dumbbell, cable, machine. I said resistance. You make a muscle work through an effective range of motion until it is fatigued with resistance. You will stimulate muscle growth in that muscle, period. That's what the research says. Anecdotally, do you see bodybuilders and other people who have built a take any given muscle, they've built it massive, doing strict work, doing cheating work, doing multi-joint movements, single joint movements. You will find champions who have built it using sometimes only one of those methods. Anecdotally, it's proven true also. Countless case studies. In other words, you can't isolate a muscle, just work the muscle. That's it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.